everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. Today we're going to be talking about housing and living spaces and your environment that you live in and that kind of thing. I've been looking for a new apartment to move to, so that's kind of been on my mind, weighing like what do I want and what am I willing to compromise on and how much do I want to pay and all that kind of stuff. Where do I want to live? All that good stuff. And Don's had some ideas about that too. He was telling me about that just before we started recording. So we thought that would make for a good episode. And then we're hoping to dig into some more questions to make up for the last couple episodes that we ran out of time and didn't get to do questions on. So I think we're mainly actually going to look at the Discord questions this time. But yeah, we will get back to doing the regular Curious Cat questions as soon as we get some decent ones. All right. So yeah, so housing and whatnot. Like I said, I've been looking for an apartment and stuff, and I think we found a good one today, actually. That's what I've been doing most of today. And the thing about it, it kind of hits all of the things that Tabs and I like and want in an apartment, in that location is good. It's on a top floor. We kind of like being at least above the first floor, and a third floor is preferable just for like light and security and, you know, potential like rodents and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice big kitchen. That's a big thing for us, cooking and all that. Decent size bedrooms. I mean, really, they're quite large bedrooms. Yeah, I mean, everything just looked really good. It didn't have anything that we were really too concerned about, except that it's sort of right at the top of the budget that we are willing to pay.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've kind of been saying that, like, I'm willing to compromise quite a bit in order to get a good deal. Like, if it's more towards the lower end of the budget, it doesn't really have to be all that spectacular. I'm perfectly happy to, you know, kind of make more money as a result of that. But if it's really like the perfect spot, like if it really checks every box, like this place kind of seems to, then I'm happy to pay a little bit more, you know, and I feel like getting value out of the place itself is worth it versus, you know, just having that extra cash. So yeah, that's kind of one thing that I've been thinking about, is how much do I value just having money for anything else versus like having a decent living space, and what do I actually like in a living space? Like, what's important to me?
Yeah, I mean, and you were telling me that it does seem to be. I mean, it's towards the upper end of your budget, but that's still a good. It's still pretty low comparatively to, in terms of like your budget compared to what a lot of people pay. You know, like a lot of people have to stretch their budget a lot just to be able to pay the bills at all, and a lot of people right now are way behind on rent and stuff, and so even just being able to be on top of it and, you know, probably have savings and stuff on top of that, whatever, I think you'll be in a good position. And so, which is good. I don't know. I mean, just it's good for being able to plan like that over the next few years at least, you know, and see how things go. So,
yeah, I mean, I've been pretty spoiled the last, it's been like 5 years or so with the price of rent at the place I'm currently living at. It's been way under market. So it just feels like a much bigger jump than, you know, than it would otherwise. So it's kind of like paying what everyone else is paying now just feels like a big jump. So yeah, that's the kind of the thing. And we're moving because like this building is acquiring, like there's a new ownership coming in, and so they're going to raise the rent anyway. So it's really not even that much more than we would otherwise be paying. So it's sort of like might as well pay a little bit more. Like it's really not even much more to just have like a place that we really, really like.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the quality of the place is sort of in a tier above what we would be able to afford, but it's sort of, the price of it is right at the bottom. It's sort of like borderline. So it's affordable enough, and the quality is enough that it sort of makes it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Does it have air conditioning?
Yeah, air conditioning, central heat, nice big windows. They look like good, kind of like they're good windows. Like sometimes you see some of these places and it's like when it gets cold, that's not going to help. It's just going to be drafty, you know. But yeah. Did
you have air growing up, like in places like India and Thailand and that?
I know we did in Thailand India, we lived in a couple different places. I think we had air in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had air in all of them. Turkey and Italy, I don't remember as much. I don't remember specifically about air conditioning in
Sure.
those places.
Yeah, because I my parents got like a heat pump, whatever, a few years ago, which is like connected to basically so that it has like an air conditioning thing on it, basically like a cooling thing. And until a few years ago when they got that, it was just after a certain point, especially once I started to gain weight and stuff, like it could not function at all during the summer. Like I just couldn't do anything basically. I would just felt like, just laying on the bed, like sweating, and felt so bad. And so now it's almost funny how completely different it is. Now it's like the temperature outside is almost, I don't know, it doesn't really matter what it is because it's just the same inside most of the year.
Yeah.
So, which has actually been a lot better for my health. I went to, a few times I've moved out, and none of the places that I lived, well, maybe one or two, but most of them that I lived, especially alone, had no air conditioning whatsoever. And it would be like I would just shut down in the summer. So it's probably, I don't know, in retrospect, that's probably something that I'm going to have to, for the future. I mean, like I'm going to have to make sure that that's part of the deal, or else it's going to be crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like kind of assumed almost, as long as you're not like really scraping the bottom of the barrel here in Chicago, that you'll get air conditioning. Although I think every place I've lived in, like since I've moved out on my own, every place I've lived in before this one, when I moved in with Tabs, I think did not have air conditioning. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have lived in some pretty like bad sort of like, they're not like horrible, but they were obviously like just what's the cheapest thing available that works in terms of like the location.
Sure.
And I never really had a problem with it, but Tabs has a little bit higher standards than that. So when we found this place, it kind of made me appreciate the fact that she was a little more discerning about things like that. And it's like, oh yeah, this is worth it. This is worth paying a little bit more. So I think I have a little bit of like just being really broke for so long that it's just like it makes no sense to pay any more than you absolutely need to, like just to have a place to shove a bed, and like paying more than that is just ridiculous. That was kind of like my attitude, not necessarily like a conscious attitude, but that's just like my automatic like metric.
Yeah.
And now I have a little bit more money to play with and stuff, so it's kind of like I can aim a little bit higher than that and like think about what do I actually like in a living space,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had two different places I lived in Montreal. One for a few years, and then the other for about a year and a bit. But the first one that I lived in was like a bachelor apartment, basically like a studio apartment, and it had this weird thing where it had like a little loft above the kitchen, where it, like a kitchenette, whatever. They had like this little loft area that was for storage, but theoretically it was for a bed. So for some reason
Yeah.
I put my mattress up there, and it could only be the mattress. Like, you couldn't have a box spring underneath it because the total space between the bed and the ceiling was maybe the total space, including the mattress, was maybe about 3 feet or 2 feet or something like that. Like it was just, you could put your like arm up a bit, but like, it was like almost like a coffin kind of area. Do you know what I mean? It was very strange.
Yeah.
And I would sleep there, and that was not, that's not good for your mental health. You could be like at the top of your game on everything. And if you live in a place like that, you're just like in a little thing that you're not going to be happy. So then the rest of it, I had like a little couch and stuff, and I don't know, I really liked that apartment, but it did have a lot of problems. Like it was above like restaurants. So it didn't have air conditioning, right? So I had the window open the whole time in the summer. Just I would never close it because it backed onto like the restaurant area kind of thing. So there was no like people couldn't really see in kind of thing, right? So, but because there was like a Chinese restaurant underneath me,
Dogs barking all the time.
yeah, well, okay, but it would just be pouring out this smoke from that was like fried meat
Yeah.
smell.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it was so funny at night. Sometimes there was like a Russian banquet hall kind of thing, just a small one, but like underneath me. And so every weekend, it seemed like they were closed all the time except for Saturday nights. I don't know. That might just be a standard
Okay.
banquet
Well,
hall
that
thing. I
kinda
don't
makes
know, but
sense.
like, and then, but that night they would put on this like CD that was just like or like it sounded like maybe it was live music or something like that, but it was like a very standardized like anyways the same thing basically every time. And until late at night, just so loud that it felt like my whole apartment was shaking kind of thing. And the final song was always Kalinka, like that I don't know if you know that song, but anyways it's just super super loud, and like everyone dancing so loud and stuff. And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of funny because I was just there being like what's going on, I don't know, like
Yeah.
and yeah, the problem with that place, the reason I ended up moving out was because they got someone next door to me brought like a couch off the street, and it had bed bugs in it. So
Yeah, I remember this.
and
I remember
it
when
was
you were
not
going
good.
through that.
Yeah, it was not good.
They like
And
blamed you, right? They were saying like you
yeah,
did it. Yeah.
yeah, they blamed me. They said that like I did it somehow, and I was like, I got really angry about that because it just they tried to make it sound like I was at fault and somehow I would have to like pay or something, like, you know what I mean? They try to make it look like, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, and so that's not good. They also did stuff like they had like this they had this like water pipe kind of system in there for heating, like a radiator system, but that was like old and didn't really work. Like there was no like on switch or anything in my room to be able to control it, whatever. But one day I like went home for a weekend and I came back and they had come into the apartment and ripped out the pipe.
Oh wow.
And it must have been an emergency thing or something because it was
Somebody needed some crack money, I guess.
yeah. Well, like they were doing like major repairs or something, and
Yeah.
there was a hole in the ground in the room, like down to where the restaurant was or wherever. Like and they had moved everything in my apartment away from the pipe, basically, like moved all the bookcases and TVs and stuff and whatever, like away from it, and with no notice or no anything. So it must have just been like, you know. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. I don't know. Like I was already planning on moving out, I think, at that point. So I was just kind of, but I don't know.
So there was like a hole. Could you like see into the kitchen and like
I couldn't see.
And...
I think it was like a blocked off. Maybe they like put something down there. So I don't think I could see all the way down, but like it was like, you know, just an open hole at the top of the ceiling and at the bottom. So
it would have been cool if they could like hand you up some noodles and stuff, like just
yeah.
give them $20 and stuff.
Yeah, that was the funny thing about having restaurants right down there, because there was like one of the places that moved in was a Korean street food place, and they just had this like deep fryer basically. It was, I don't even know, like a third or half of the size of like a convenience store or something. It was just like a tiny place. And they had they would just do like fried hot dogs and stuff like that kind of thing, like all different, and poutine and stuff. And I don't know, it wasn't the healthiest place to live above, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. There's some cool spots in the area around that apartment we were looking at. It's kind of a eclectic mix of things that kind of suit us in terms of food.
Yeah, that was the best part about living in a city, I think. I live in a sort of semi-rural area now, so there's not like a lot of different like restaurants. Like there's a few of each sort of like type kind of thing, but like it's not that great for, you know, like I mean, especially just the distance. Like it's too far to order takeout for most things. Like, so I really miss being able to get like a big bundle of Indian food and easily. So I'll have to, I don't know. I'm looking forward to, once the 1,000-year quarantine ends, maybe getting you know, going to the city or something and getting some food. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like living in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, it's all the same to me. It's all just another place for inside to be,
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of worried about, as I said, there's like a bunch of little things that like are almost like that would be very, very difficult for me to handle, I think, at this point, kind of thing. Like, especially because I've been sort of spoiled by being able to live out in the middle of nowhere, kind of thing. It's like, I if I had like loud neighbors that were like fighting all the time or something like that, that'd probably really bother me. Or like if I had like bugs or heat or something, like I don't know. So it's like that's part of the problem of looking at different prices for places and stuff, is because you're kind of like, the stuff that's like at the lower end of the market is stuff that's just gonna be like terrible, like just,
yeah.
especially like in Toronto, just like it'd just be like a joke. It'd be like out in the middle of nowhere already, like in a, like a bad part of the city, basically, for prices and whatever, like just anything that will be it. So it's kind of hard to know what the actual price of like a place that I thought would be decent would be, so I was looking
especially
at,
for you guys, like
yeah
it's really crazy for Canadians right now.
yeah I was saying to this to you earlier, but like I saw like a 1-bedroom apartment condo went for $730,000 Canadian, so about like 550,000 American or something like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's the kind of, it's a lot. Yeah. So, or more.
And
but,
that could get you a really nice condo in downtown Chicago right now. Like,
yeah,
they are having trouble moving units down there, I guess, because they have a lot of laws around, like the owner has to live in the unit, so it keeps investors out. And with COVID and everything, there's less desire to live downtown because everyone can just work from home.
Yeah.
So there's just a ton of stuff on the market that's like they're just desperate to sell. So 500,000 would get you a nice place right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's the thing, is that for me in my situation now, I'm just, plugging away, saving up some money, and I feel like hopefully something will kind of break in my direction or something like that for that, because like right now there's no way that I could ever really, I'm not going to get a mortgage. That's just the, it's just not, it wouldn't work kind of thing in my situation. But like maybe down the road, if I have some savings already and then I get a higher paying job or something like that, then I'll be able to, I'll be in a much better position then to be ready for that or something. So I don't have to spend a bunch of years savings or something like that. So that's kind of the hope. And, because it's hard, because you don't want to have to say like, well, I could dip into savings and use that to subsidize rent for a year or something like that. Like it's not, you have to kind of have the cash flow to be able to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of worked out like the money that I have been paying towards student loans, like I've said before, I've been saving that through the whole quarantine thing as they've been frozen, with the idea that I would pay that off whenever they unfreeze it, or they, if they cancel it, then it's just money in my pocket. But I'm pretty close to being able to pay that off with the savings, and I hoping to make some money on the crypto market. I put my stimulus check into crypto, so I'm hoping that kind of at least doubles that. And between that and the savings, should be able to pay off almost all of those debts, if not all of it. So that kind of enables me to maintain the same budget that I've been doing, that I've been living with here at the current place. If I just move the money that I put away every month towards student loans, if I just put that into rent, then I kind of am doing the same. Like it's essentially making up the difference. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be too onerous on my budget or anything, but it's one of those things, like rent has gone up. It's just kind of a fact of life, and I got a good deal, and I should think about it more like had a good deal for a while rather than like this is what I should set my standards to for the future,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you were saying, like, you were talking about all these like the loud banquet hall and all that kind of stuff. Is like noise a big thing for you in a place? Like that bothers you?
See, it doesn't bother me as long as it's not like specific to people talking sort of near me or whatever kind of thing, like if sometimes if I have like a apartment where I can hear the people next door, or if I have roommates or anything like that, but like I end up feeling like paralyzed, like I can't move much kind of thing, like I feel like I can't do anything because I can hear them and they can hear me or something. That just is a problem. But like if it's like a generic sort of noise, like just something out on the street or whatever that doesn't,
like cars driving on
yeah,
a busy street, that kind
like
of thing.
I actually got really used to in Montreal because of that like fan that was back there. It was like a loud hum that was just all day. I got really used to that as like a noise that was like around me, and that was actually quite pleasant to me. I don't know, I really liked that. But I mean, there were loud noises that at that apartment that just weren't, connected to anything. Like out in the hallway, there was like a big fight once between this guy and this girl. Like they just like I don't even know if it was like, I don't know if it was like a physical kind of fight, but he was more just kind of slamming himself against my door and just like screaming. And there's stuff like that happens if you're like in a low income kind of apartment kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's always going to be people fighting around and screaming and stuff. And I don't know. So that's not good to have if you're already anxious and stuff. But like, yeah. One of the places I lived in Ontario, the guy, like, I'm pretty sure he was like a drug dealer, which is whatever. That's fine. But like, I sometimes there would be this like terrible chemical smell, and I assumed it was like some sort of drug. I don't know. I'm not like a drug expert, so I assumed it was some sort of drug, and just didn't. I don't know. The smell was so bad. It was like this almost burnt plastic smell or something, and I was like, don't really. I don't know. I just felt it. You start to feel like just it's like you're living in a sleazy place or something kind of thing. That place also had squirrels in the walls, like just in the walls. There was like an abandoned apartment next door, like an abandoned building, and there was like just animals you could hear next door. And I guess they couldn't really do much about that because it's like the next building or whatever. But like, I don't know, just stuff like that. Or one of the bedrooms was basically backed onto the bathroom of another place. So as I was sleeping, you would just hear people going to the washroom right like almost beside your head kind of thing. Very, 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 very strange stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that just happens when it's like just the lower end of the apartments kind of thing. It's like, it's stuff that like you would have noticed if like you knew to look for it and someone was helping you kind of pick out the apartment and you had money to say no kind of thing, to pick something a lot better or something. Then, but like, yeah, exactly. It's just that's the thing that I would get stuck in those kind of situations where, and it was usually because I looked at a lot of other ones that were just not good. And then those ones seemed fine. So I usually had some benefit to them that I liked. And, I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's funny. I think I've lived in places maybe not quite as bad as that, but comparably pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just so oblivious to stuff like that. Like as long as it doesn't even have to like necessarily be like safe in a like would you evaluate it as a safe place? It's more like if nothing bad happens to me, I just don't it doesn't bother me. Like until something bad happens to me, it's safe kind of a thing. And nothing, I've never gotten robbed or anything crazy like that has ever happened. And I guess I just don't even remember, like I don't have stories like that because I've just been oblivious to it. But like I know that some of these places have been pretty bad just from other people's reactions, like holy hell, you live like this kind of a thing.
Yeah, but so it kind of creates like a sort of hump to get over kind of thing in terms of I don't want to just move out back into somewhere like that, so
yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of yeah, so that's why I'm kind of happy with where I'm at now for now. So yeah,
nothing wrong with that. I was just asking about noise because I never really considered it until this place. And it's not like this is a noisy place or anything, but there's a garbage truck that comes by at like 4 in the morning, and that has a tendency to wake me up because it like does these loud beeps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of made me. I have such a weird list of like things for the next apartment that like I can think of. Like Tabs is really the brains behind this whole operation. I'm like, can I fit my bed and my desk in there? Does it have laundry in the unit or the building? Those are, you know, is there a grocery store nearby? Like anything that I can walk to that I know that I'll need to go to regularly. That's important. And then like, is there a garbage truck at 4 a.m. outside the window? Like that's my list of things to think about.
Sure. Well, there's also that like warehouse kind of thing where there's like a lot of noises. Like it's like a repetitive noise thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's like some kind of like a warehouse, but it is some sort of wholesale store, retail. I don't know. I never see people actually shopping there, but there's constant deliveries and stuff. It seems kind of shady. There's a lot of shady businesses around this area that it's like, what is this a front for exactly?
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know.
It never bothered me, but that's just the one of the things I notice whenever I stay at your place. It's just that it's got this weird kind of announcement system or something that's going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like a North Korean prison camp vibe with like Asian lady just like coming on the PA and like announcing something, and then like she always has trouble hanging up the phone, like the phone that she's using to do it, so there's always like this as she's trying to put the phone back down every single time. I don't know what's wrong with her phone. I don't know, kind of it's part of the charm of the place, I think. But I'm excited. I hope we get this place. We just applied, so we're just kind of like fingers crossed hoping we get it. I'm really liking the idea of like having nice big rooms with lots of light. That kind of felt very good to be in that kind of space. We're in a very small place now, and the light isn't great, so it just felt like a huge improvement. And it's one of those things that like once you live there for like even just a couple weeks, you get used to it and you don't think about it very much. But I don't know. I think it matters. And having a nice big kitchen with like a room for like a dining area. Like we don't have a dining room at all. Like we have a tiny little living room with a coffee table, and that's where we eat. And we've been doing that for years. So it'll be nice to like eat like good Western people on a table, not on the floor.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so like I said, fingers crossed. Prayers up. You can't win, fans. You gotta send us your prayers and your good vibes and all your whatever you do.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the other thing that I guess I'll be thinking about is like I haven't really decorated this place. My room is just like blank walls mostly.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to try and change that up and put something on the wall. So like one idea I had was to have like a map of a country that I've either lived in or been to, or that I'm interested in or something like that. And then like a picture that represents that place. So like, let's say I have Finland, like I'd have a map of Finland. Then next to it, like a map of, or a picture of like the woods, or, you know, maybe my grandparents' house in Finland or something. And just kind of like have that be like a little theme, like a bunch of those different things, like India, Turkey, all these different places I've lived.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't know.
I thought that seemed pretty good. Like it's a little bit, you got to do everything framed. Once you hit a certain age, you can't do like unframed posters and stuff like that. You know, you gotta strike the right balance. Like it can't be too old or old fashioned or whatever, or too like too fancy, you know what I mean? It's not only doesn't feel right, it's just really expensive. But you also I don't know, you can't have a bunch of like Fight Club posters and stuff, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Have you looked into where you'd be able to get that kind of thing, do you know, or
No, it's just like an idea I had. I haven't really looked into it. I know framing stuff I know costs a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see.
Because I thought I was getting some stuff too. over the next while. You know, anything that I can get that is like something I can probably take with me to a new place down the road that I can kind of have around for a long period of time, you know, is something that I'm willing to buy now out of current kind of money because it seems like an investment thing. You know, that's why I've gotten a lot of like little electronic stuff because it's like stuff that, you know, like if I have like a backup hard drive, I can have that for like 5-10 years or something. You know what I mean? Like for at least a while. So, stuff like that. Like, so it's not something like, clothes that will, you know, I don't know if what I'll be wearing in a few years or something, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's stuff like, it's more stuff like small pieces of furniture or something I could take with me or something. So that's what the kind of thing I'm looking to buy over the next few months. So
I've been locked into that kind of thinking about like stuff to purchase for like my whole life. Basically, I've always just thought about like the only thing I should spend money on is something that is like somehow an investment, even if it's like, you know, an investment in my entertainment or something. Like I'm buying some computer thing or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's never things like, oh, that just would look nice on the wall. There's always this calculation of like, that adds no value to my life. It's just a thing that hangs on the wall. What's the point of that? Like, then I don't buy it. Even though I might like it, like I might think it looks nice. I'm not like completely autistic, but there's still like this metric that where it's like it doesn't actually add value. It's just a thing that hangs there. So no point spending money on it.
Yeah.
So trying to break out of that. I did when I was in Seattle. I did get something framed just like almost just to force myself to like do it to break out of that a little bit. And now I don't like it. I don't like how it looks, so I like don't hang it up. But I think that was a good move. So kind of need to just do that again, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to I'll have to look around a lot because I'm not sure what I would want years from now, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll just get something that's nice. I don't know, and see how it works. I don't know. Yeah. Right now I feel like my place, I mean, like my room is just I have like my master's degree up and my Mao poster up, basically. My Mao cutout thing that I got in China. So
the duality of Dawn.
Yeah, and that's about it, and not much else. Because it feels like still like not my room kind of thing. It's like a spare room. So I don't know. It'd be nice to, you know, if I'm gonna be here for a few more months at least, and just, you know, start to, I don't know, just make it my own a bit more.
Yeah.
So
the way I've been able to kind of justify things like that is it's still sort of following that weird like calculation of like, does this add value to my life kind of a thing? But you can kind of look at it in instead of thinking about it in this extreme long-term thing where it's like, from now until I die, is this a useful purchase? You can think about it in terms of like, well, how much does it cost? And then like, what's a reasonable time frame? So like, if you're going to stay there for a year or 2 years or whatever, you think about like, okay, so if I only have this for 2 years, then I'm paying this much per month to have that thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That helps me out. Maybe that's still weird or whatever, but
yeah, I get it.
Have you ever, I don't know. So I guess you've never really gotten into like decorating your place much, huh? Like that. It's just something that's very alien to me. I have to kind of learn how to do it. I guess I do like Tab's taste though. She does a good job with stuff. Lots of like kind of traditional patterns, like Lithuanian and stuff like that, and flowers and pictures of nature and stuff. I don't know. I like that stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I have had bizarre periods where I would just put up a bunch of Mao posters and stuff like that, like just a dozen Stalin, Mao, Lenin ones all over the place and stuff. I don't know. Probably not going to do that moving forward, but I don't know. And then I had a Quebec flag for a while. Maybe I would get another one of those. I don't know. It's just nice to have.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing
Scottish flag or something.
Anything like location based. I feel like that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
Anything that expresses personality to me feels cringe. Like if it belies something about me, it's like,
Yeah.
no, this is gay.
Sure.
But if it's just like, this is a country,
Yeah.
like, all right, that's fair.
Oh, you called Quebec a country. You're on our side. Yeah.
Quebec is a country is my new Twitter account.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, all right. So should we? I know it's a little early, but maybe we can dive into questions here.
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Okay. So yeah, let's get into the questions. Born to Ready. So yeah, once again, this is from our Discord. We're doing some Discord questions this time because there's a little bit of a backlog there, and quality on the Curious Cat questions lately has been iffy. So we're doing Discord this time. All right. Born to Ready says, is the anti-circumcision movement a form of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia? I think it kind of goes along with a lot of these things where it certainly has elements of that, like people who are interested in that kind of stuff find the motivation and energy to get involved with something like anti-circumcision and whatnot. But I don't necessarily think, every person that's interested in this kind of stuff is like that. Like I know people online who have strong opinions about this for whatever reason, and I don't think it's born out of like anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. Although I do think it kind of influences a negative opinion about those religions. If that's how you feel about circumcision and you don't otherwise really care either way, then that's going to kind of push you to have a slightly more negative opinion than you would otherwise.
Yeah. I think that it's probably the case that I think like a law against it would be like, say that's the thing, is that there's people that will say, I don't really care as much about the actual movement itself, like as like the people that will put on shirts that are like, and stand on the street corner kind of people, but like the people that are just be like, it is crazy, we shouldn't allow this or something like that, I think that is a interesting sort of case study of, I don't think it should be illegal, and I think that if it was made illegal, that would be a form of anti-Semitism or something like that. Like what I mean? Like if it was pushed into that direction, I think that it would be if it's such a central part of certain religions kind of thing, and then you make it illegal, that seems not good to me. I don't know.
Well, okay, here's the flip side to that. Imagine the kinds of protests you could do to like protest against those laws. If people are banning circumcision, you could like get all your boys circumcised and you just start lobbing foreskins at politicians and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's grody.
Gotta look on the bright side,
Sure.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily see that as Islamophobic. Like, I can't speak for the anti-Semitism, but just being a Muslim, I wouldn't necessarily feel like that's an attack on Islam. Unless, like, it all depends on the context, right?
Sure.
Like if like the far right in France or whatever takes over the government, and then they start, the first thing is like banning halal meat and banning circumcision. It was like, yeah, that seems like they're kind of targeting something there. But if it's just like out of some kind of weird sex positive thing that a lot of this seems to be from, then it's just, goofy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily means they hate like Jews and Muslims. It's just that, it's just the way things are going these days, that everything is like focused on that stuff. So I don't know.
Sure.
I do think it's weird. Like, I think if you have strong opinions either way, I think it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
The arguments all seem really specious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll give that a second of silence to let people blow their lids and then move on to the next one here. This is again from Born to Ready. Is Tom going to get back to MTG when they drop the new Kaldheim set? So this was asked a while ago. That set's been out now for a little bit. They're talking about Magic the Gathering here, and this was a kind of like a Snow Viking Skyrim-y kind of themed set, which kind of seemed, I don't know, Magic is always kind of cringe and stuff in terms of the themes and all that, but this one kind of seemed a little bit more up my alley than usual. I didn't get into it. Just not in the mood. I don't know. I'll get back into Magic at some point, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You've been playing that Slay the Spire now, I guess?
Oh yeah, still playing Slay the Spire all the time. Watching my Austrian streamer.
Mm-hmm.
He puts up a video every day. He had a cold recently, and he sounded especially Austrian when he had the cold. So that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Grevling is asking the next question here. Do you get your foreskin back in heaven? That's an interesting question. I don't know what people have said about this. I know it's considered part of the fitra in Islam to be circumcised, so that's why Muslims do it. And so what that means is that it's like part of the natural disposition of humanity. It doesn't mean that like people are naturally born without them. It means that it's a kind of almost intuitive thing for people to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how that's argued, because clearly that's not the case. Like when you look around, and you know, it's the Abrahamic religions that really do this, I think. I don't know if other religions do. So I'm not sure if that means it in heaven that you do, or I don't know, maybe you get a choice. You get to choose how much foreskin you have.
Yeah.
It's like Cyberpunk, you get to choose the length of it.
Sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. This kind of stuff is always a bit funny to me. I don't know. I always feel like I have like a nerdy Christopher Nolan style view of heaven or something like that. Like it's some like time warp, fourth dimensional eternity confusing thing or something. I don't really think of it as like you just pop into like you check in into like a hotel basically, and you're like, I'm in heaven now.
Right.
So
that's always struck me as funny, the idea of like, yeah, it's just a place. Like it's just like you take a plane and you get there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's probably different than that, but maybe it doesn't feel that different once you're actually like, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah. You know, I think it's funny. David Cross has a bit once where he reads about like what heaven's going to be like from like an article in like some newspaper or something. And it's like the streets will be paved with gold kind of stuff, but like really, really in detail about like what your job will be like and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it's pretty funny. That's whatever I think of when people start giving really specific ideas of heaven. It's like, I don't know. Then again, I've never read Dante, so I don't, maybe once I read Dante, I'll be like, okay.
You don't have to read Dante. He cribbed it all from Ibn Sina.
Sure.
Did Thomas Aquinas ever talk about, like, I know he had some stuff about, like, do people poop in heaven and that kind of stuff. I know he's talked about things like that. So I imagine he seems like the kind of guy that would go into detail about foreskins.
I'm not sure. No.
All right. Well, enough with the foreskin talk. Born to Ready has another question. How does Don feel about being totally correct about the age of mods?
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like we're in the age of mods now for sure. It's not, I warned of it for many years, but it finally came. And I don't know how we're going to get out of it because, a lot of the people, I don't know. Like I saw Bernie Sanders the other day said that he feels weird about Trump not being allowed on Twitter.
Yeah,
people got mad at him. They were like, why are you standing up? Like, they were like, why is this the one thing that you're worried about kind of thing?
Yeah, that's the one thing he's worried about. Yeah.
Yeah, or something, like, why would you prioritize Trump? Which is a new thing. That's the new go-to argument. It's like, why would you make that a person a priority? It's always like, that's a weird shift. It used to be like that about like issues or something, right? Like you would go, why would you prioritize that over something else? Now it's like, I don't care why that person gets banned because they're trash. So no matter what, if something bad happens to someone good that I think is bad, then that's good kind of thing. I don't know. It's very, very sad, I don't know, to see, especially when we're talking about like one of the greatest Twitter users of all time. So, yeah.
I heard he's going to do podcasts now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So with your permission, I'm going to send out a little feeler, see if he's up for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the inverted form asks, would you guys go on Red Scare podcast if invited? Yeah, what the hell? Why not? I don't care. Sure.
I probably would not. I don't know.
Really? All right. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yep. Although I should say that for some reason, I guess there seems to be some overlap for some reason where people, I don't know, some people on Twitter seem to like both of our podcasts that I've seen, or like at least are posting and stuff, and that surprised me because I thought there'd be like no overlap, but I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the natural thing, but I think it's two really boring podcasts with like two people who are really sleepy sounding talking to each other.
Sure, okay. Yeah, a lot of good dishwashing music or whatever, like dishwashing sound to, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If you have an explanation, send it in to us because we're stumped. We don't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
Kanji Man, do women make up greater or lesser than 5% of your listeners? I don't know. I don't have like actual stats on that, but I feel like judging by the Discord, it's maybe greater than 5%, but not by much.
No, I think it's substantially more than that. I think it's I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 20%, 25% or more, which is pretty good for podcasts in general, I think. If they're not like true crime or whatever, but like
especially for like based religious trad podcasts like ours. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, but you can kind of tell from the names of people that sign up for the Patreon. That's partly what I would go by. And yeah, I don't know. There was actually a question on the main public feed kind of thing where Curious Cat, where someone asked, I remembered that they said, why is it that like 95% plus of weird Twitter people are men, and something like that along those lines. And I had a similar thought about that, is that like there are a lot of women in that sort of ecosystem. A lot of them are sort of beyond the point of wanting to have big accounts kind of thing, because they get harassed constantly and stuff. So there's a lot of like smaller accounts or locked accounts.
Thumbs up, guys.
Stuff.
Keep it up.
Yeah. So yeah, but and I don't know. I thought that was unfair because there are tons of women online now. It's actually it's sort of shocking to me. I don't know. I feel like women should have better things to do than kind of be layabouts on the internet like we are. So
it's also a text-based medium. Like I think that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just do this one real quick because we kind of talked about this in the Discord itself. Have you read Shahab Ahmed's What is Islam? If so, what are your thoughts? And we talked about it on an episode that I think it's episode 34. Girls love it when you explain the angry pirate. I believe that's the one where we did talk about that one. So if you have interest in that, that's the place to go. Yeah. So the next question after that is the inverted form. Will you stop having Ed Buck on the show? Bunch of Jewish stars and Kazakhstan flags for that one. No, I like having Ed Buck on the show. Actually, he's definitely one of the more polarizing guests that we have. Especially the one about movies. What's funny is that one made people angry, and then the other ones where he's just like, women are incredibly stupid for like 2 hours, just going on and on. No negative feedback. People are totally fine with that. But then he's like, A24 is kind of bad. Then everyone loses their minds. Yeah, I don't know. He's a good guest. I enjoy having him on, so I think we will.
Yeah. I think maybe there is this thing where people don't talk to people as much that they disagree with. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it these days. So, I can talk to him and he can just be saying things for a while that, I mean, it hasn't really come up on the episode, but just in general or whatever, like just where it's it'll be very negative and I don't know. I think that once your mind is being pulverized by online long enough that like you just kind of, if people say things that you disagree with, you just kind of go, okay, kind of thing. Just like you're like, yep, kind of thing or whatever. Like you're not gonna. I don't know. There is a certain thing where it's like people say, oh, I hear something I disagree with, therefore I don't want to listen or something. I don't know. I don't really get that as much. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like it just so. But at the same time, I have to admit that I feel like it has to be spaced out enough that we can't have them on every week. We have to have them on once in a while where I can brace myself for the negativity. And
Yeah, that is true. It is a little bit like whenever it kind of comes up, it's like, all right, are we feeling like we want to do this again?
yeah,
You know, sometimes you're in the mood, sometimes you're not.
sure.
Yeah, I agree with the whole like people have a weird thing these days about like platforming, the whole issue of platforming people. Like we're not this is not a platform, guys. This is there's like a few people that listen to this. This is not like a significant thing. It doesn't matter who we could have, like, you know, some wacko Nazi on here, and it doesn't matter. It's not gonna hurt anything. You know what I mean? Like not that we're interested in doing that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that every time anyone speaks that it needs to be considered like, how could this person be given a platform? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing people's perspectives and thought process and stuff when they do differ from my own, and I think it's often interesting to me how much I can come to see their point of view. It doesn't necessarily mean I end up like just changing the way I see the world, but it does tend to open things up. So I think it's good to like just listen to people, you know. I feel odd about this thing about like, no, everything has to, I've figured out everything, I'm right about everything, everyone has to either be on my side or there's some enemy, you know. That seems really like a weird and probably bad way to go about things.
Sure.
ZBD says, is our world corrupted by spirits? All right, so two premises here: the existence of spirits and a strong influence on the world by them, and then it would be a negative influence of corruption. So let's tackle that first one first. What do you think about spirits? Are they floating around?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably lots of weird things going on that we don't see, but maybe it may be some like weird sci-fi kind of thing where it's like mystical or something that we don't understand. So it might not even be worth talking about as much, but like it's just a fact kind of thing that, you know, I don't know. Maybe some people experience them or whatever, but I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of a key part of Islamic belief to believe in jinn and angels. So yeah, I guess spirits here would basically be jinn from a Muslim point of view. So yeah, I would say I believe in that stuff. Essentially the same way you're describing, like it's some kind of psychic phenomena that they have their own personality, their own personhood and stuff, but it's not something that, it's not like poltergeist stuff, you know. It's more like there's the physical world that we tend to regard as reality, and everything else is, you know, nowadays it's sort of like everything is generated from that. Well, maybe it's not really like that. Maybe there's just other worlds in addition to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so is the world corrupted by these spirits?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this is above my pay grade. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at it that way. I think the world is what it's supposed to be. I don't really go for this like the world is corrupted or not kind of a way of looking at it, this framing. So the spirits and humans and everything else is, we're just doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we should be doing better, you know. But it is what it is, kind of a thing. Like the idea of the world being corrupted is, I don't know, that's not the way that I look at it.
Sure.
I can understand someone when they talk about things like that. Like I get what they're saying, and I don't even necessarily disagree. It's just not really the way I look at that situation.
Sure.
Ironic username. That's our friend Gerald. He says, favorite American Civil War general. I'm not really a big Civil War guy. I don't really know that much about it.
Yeah, me either. I don't know. I couldn't tell you like the name of the different battles or anything, or that they actually, you know, I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about them, or I don't really know the general, so I don't know. So,
Yeah, it seemed kind of like a pointless war. Like, what were they really fighting about?
Oh
You
no.
know?
Yeah. So I'll say John Brown.
Okay. I'll go with Stonewall Jackson just because that's a cool name.
Sure.
Don't was he? Do you even know? I don't know what side he was on. I just know that's a name.
No, I don't know.
He was a South.
Oh, he
right?
was a Southerner. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember that because I had this thing that like the Stonewall Inn, whatever, like the gay riot, whatever thing. I used to have this idea that like it was a rebel like bar during the Civil War, and it was named or like just after the Civil War by like rebel soldiers, whatever, that moved north or something, and that it was like a Confederate bar, and I don't know. I thought that I tried to spread that idea as a joke.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to retract that then. I forgot.
Sure.
I forgot that was like a gay thing. I gotta take it back.
Okay.
Guns Mode says, "What kind of music do you two listen to? What do you put on to chill? What do you put on to get hype? Do you listen to music while gaming?" I think we talked about this, but I very rarely listen to music anymore. When I do, it's just like, oh, Young Gleesh put out a new song. Oh, Chief Keef put out a new song. So that's the kind of stuff I listen to, and it's just like very rarely.
Yeah. I listen to mostly now like alt country kind of stuff. I don't know. And if I'm trying to just relax, I put on like classical music or like sort of soft rock kind of stuff like Calexico or Beach House and stuff like that. So, and I don't listen to music while gaming. I don't know. I usually because I'll be playing something like Call of Duty or something. So it's not really kind of want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, I usually listen to podcasts when I'm gaming or, and then doing the dishes and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, Slay the Spire is something you can very easily just have a podcast going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Born to Ready says, when can we begin the impeachment process for Tom, inciting a 1,000-year quarantine? Oh, so I guess I would be impeached for inciting a 1,000-year quarantine. I thought this was another complaint about about me on the podcast.
Oh yeah. So is that the idea that we would remove you from the podcast? Is that
I
the
guess
impeachment? So. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
No, that would make my life very, very difficult in a lot of ways. So we'll avoid that for now, unless you can find another white Muslim convert of equivalence. I don't know. So
we've had a few on here.
Sure.
Probably would be better, but
okay.
they would have to defeat me in a traditional jihad kind of style duel.
Unless I get impeached for collaborating with Tom, and then what happens after that?
And then I guess the firing line 2 people take over.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's not give them any ideas.
Sure.
All right. The inverted form says, "Is bodybuilding a sport?" I don't really understand what's ever at stake when people are kind of debating, like, is this a sport? Is this not a sport? Like, what is actually at stake here? Do we take it seriously? Do we respect the skill involved? There's lots of things that are not considered sports that require a lot of skill and I would respect, but somehow like this turns into like a heated thing,
Yeah. I guess there's like institutional reasons you might care about that. Like if you want like funding or something, or you want it to be at the Olympics or whatever, but I don't really get it. I don't know. I find it a bit strange. I find that like just it always registered in my mind like of like the bodybuilding competitions as something like furries or something, just like as a weird fetish kind of thing.
It's a little weird, yeah.
Yeah. And when it's like the more generic kind of just lifting thing or something like that, most of the time that's fine. But like when it gets into the greased up people,
yeah. Although I feel like I remember debates about, is chess a sport when I was in high school. Did you ever see any of that when you were a kid? People would debate whether chess was a sport.
No. Maybe as a joke or something. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a real serious debate, and this was like before like these kinds of arguments would pop up on like social media, and everyone would have strong opinions about something like that. But maybe it was just being in India, people take chess a little more seriously or something.
Okay.
But I feel like we crossed a line once we came up with this term esports. At this point, I think if you are physically doing something with your body, like if we have esports and we're calling that a sport, I think we can call bodybuilding a sport. You know, I don't really like the idea of video games being called a sport.
Sure.
Like that seems a little weird. But if that's where we're at, like, sure, bodybuilding, come on in. Who cares? At this point, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
Is podcasting a sport? Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Posting is a sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Donjel, what are your thoughts on Gnostic Christianity? Is it a type of Christian mysticism?
So I don't know much about this. I don't really have much to say. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what that second question is about, because I thought that was almost like the dictionary definition of it, but maybe it's kind of calling into question, like, is it Christian or not? Which is sort of like,
sure.
Take a sectarian position on a long dead, like, sect, you know? I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a vaguely negative impression of Gnosticism, but I can't really justify it, so.
Mm-hmm.
Rolomatad. What's the moral basis of the Catholic argument against polygamy? If someone can keep 2+ partners happy, why shouldn't they? Very interesting.
Well, like in a Catholic marriage, the idea is that there's like a union of two people. It's almost like, it kind of has spun maybe a bit further away from where it should be, I think, in terms of how extreme it gets. But like the idea is that it's like a unity that has somehow been destined or something. It's not just like a matter of a unity in terms of like a partnership. It's also like somehow, this trans-historical joining.
Well, does that necessarily, is that limited to 2 people necessarily? I could see that argument being made for more than 2 people.
Well, it's also, that's the second part, is that it gets into is like the moral status of gender and all that kind of stuff, where it's like it's supposed to be complementary, where it's like, one man, one woman joined together in sort of like, one, and it's also supposed to be for like the purpose of creating new life and stuff. I mean, this is just the orthodox standard argument and stuff. I don't think that like the average person buys the whole thing. I mean, that is like, but like, I think it's important to give what the thing is. And the idea is that like anything else is adultery because it's outside of that kind of thing. So
I see.
And so, it's not really about, it's about like, what is the purpose of like every, to some extent you can there's like a wider or narrower version of this, but to some extent every person is supposed to have some, basically almost like a mission in life. Like there's like debates over vocation and stuff. And if it's not like become a priest or a monk or something, it would be to get married and have kids. Like that's the kind of traditional thing. Now that's contested too. That's not necessarily always the case and stuff, but there's like a very specific architecture in the ideology around all of this stuff that implicates like, it kind of creates this one particular model of marriage. Now, obviously that is so at odds with the mainstream version of it now, in terms of being able to get divorced and all this kind of stuff, that like it almost seems silly to talk about it in those terms, kind of thing, right? But I do think that, like, to me, the meaning of marriage does have that, at least the idea of a unity of 2 people. Like, it doesn't, the idea that you could be married to more than one person doesn't make sense in my mind. Like, logically, I can kind of wrap my mind around it as like someone just kind of saying it, but it doesn't really make sense to me. It's like, you can't, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's like a,
yeah, I kind of feel the same way, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that, I mean, that can always just be a cultural thing, though. I don't know. Like, it might be, I don't want to be like say that people living otherwise are not necessarily, you know, like I'm not going to be the one that makes these decisions. I guess is what I would say. Like it's not like
Yeah,
I'm
you
not the
just
person that.
that's your personal like impression.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
and I do think it's one of those things where it'd be interesting to see what happens in the future with this kind of stuff, because I do feel like it's going to be more and more of a debate kind of thing where either in like a negative way or a positive way. Like I feel like the anti-Muslim kind of stuff will push the governments in some places to fight, make it illegal, like fight polygamy more often, kind of thing. In
I
more,
could see that
you
because
know,
it's a
yeah,
very like token issue because it really doesn't exist. Like there's not
yeah,
a lot of polygamous marriages in in Muslim communities and stuff.
sure.
Like it's
So,
just not something that's super common, even though it's allowed.
so I think that you could use it as like a punching bag kind of thing. I think sometimes, and
Yeah,
or it's the other way that like you might be able to get people not in terms of Muslim communities, but I wouldn't be surprised if people do, like you see already people looking for like custody of like three people for a kid and stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if like there is like movements in those directions where people will say there's no reason why we can't have more open relationships and stuff like that. I don't know. So I could see that being like a legal change too. I don't know. So, and it's one
yeah,
of those things where I just, you know, I feel like there's not going to be ever a case where I'm going to have to vote up and down on something like that. So it's like, but my natural kind of feeling is like that's not, it shouldn't be allowed, like for polygamy and stuff like that. But it would completely depend on the context of everything, kind of thing, because I wouldn't want to be just like playing into far right stuff or like whatever. So yeah.
sure. I mean, honestly, like plenty. I think maybe even the majority of Muslim countries don't allow polygamy, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
thought of as like, oh, this is a gross violation of the Sharia. It was always a thing of like, this is something that is permitted because there are circumstances like after a war when there's like a tremendous loss of the male population, where this like makes sense, where where like men could have multiple wives.
Yeah. No, I just
It
mean that like in the more left wing kind of version of it.
Yeah, yeah, with polycules and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Like
I mean, I think if we're headed in any direction, it's the opposite because I think like it's not like there's too few males. It's there's too many males compared to the
sure.
compared to women. So like it's just
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I know I got all my genders and sexes and stuff mixed up there. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So Kevin says, "Do you agree with the slogan ‘No investigation, no right to speak’?" This is one of Mao's famous sayings.
Yeah, it's a he. I'm not sure if it's actually. I feel like this is a contraction of something that was longer that he said too. I think it was more like, I mean, this is something that you do see as a quoted, but I feel like it was also like, if you don't look into a problem, you shouldn't speak on it or something like that kind of thing. I don't know. It
Not
was
as
like a little,
snappy.
not yeah. So I think that I don't know. I people use this in a very strange way because they use it as almost the opposite of the way that it's almost like it's about like experience and stuff, right? Like in like research in terms of going and doing things and getting out there and like learning from the people and like doing things like research into like experiences of cases and things like that. So a lot of the time people use it as, if you don't know any theory, you shouldn't speak on this or something like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's not really, I don't think, the thing. It's more that like bureaucrats and random people shouldn't just speak about things that they don't know about in sort of arrogant way or something. It's against arrogance, but it's funny because it's almost always deployed as arrogance or something. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to hear people's opinions even if they're ignorant. So I would say mo investigation, mo right to speak.
Yeah,
it's not a hard and fast rule, but
yeah, and I mean, you got to think of it in the context of the Chinese Cultural Revolution and stuff. You've got like people who are, they were like very, very strongly valorizing just random villagers and stuff coming up with things, like just people that would not have been scholars in other eras or whatever, stuff like that. Like people just that learned from doing, and that was supposed to be. It was supposed to be that there was like a folk wisdom that was often better than, the party bureaucrats or something like that. So now that didn't always turn out true, but it's just it was like a sort of very, very democratic, I think, in that way. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's finish with this one here. This another one from Born to Ready. Why does basketball get such a bad rap amongst other fans of other sports, and why is the answer racism? So I was thinking about this, and the obvious thing is like, okay, well, basketball is like dominated by African Americans, so there's like this racist kind of thing going on. But baseball is my favorite sport, and that's dominated by Dominicans.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Black Poppy, they're not black, but it's sort of like if you're a racist, I imagine that kind of feels pretty similar,
Yeah.
So like why is that not treated as a thing? I don't know. I got to feel like something's going on in basketball. They got to be cheating or something. They got some kind of ankle muscle. I don't know. What is the thing they say? Something like that.
Fast twitch muscle fiber.
Yeah. Maybe that's true. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I think that I only know this from the old Free Republic posts that I look through, the joke ones, where people they would post a lot about how much they hate thug ball, which is what they call NBA, the NBA and the NFL are thug ball, and then
really?
That's the NFL because they did all those protests and stuff. I don't know if it was Black Lives Matter, but they did like them before and stuff. Yeah, so
yeah.
So thug ball, and then the sports they like are hockey and baseball because I think baseball. The difference is that most fans are white.
That's what I just realized. Yeah. It's the fan base.
Yeah, and there's still people that like are top players who are white that. And as Doug Stanhope said, they look like cops when they're just standing out there.
Yeah.
They just look like they're sort of slightly... That's changed in the last few years, but it used to be for years and years. The baseball players would look like slightly concerned all the time on the field.
Now a lot of them look like stoner, like surfer dudes and like college kind of like frat boy types, it's or they're funny.
Yeah, or they're like smiling a lot and stuff too now.
Just like goofy, like happy guys. It is kind of funny when you think about it. They look like cops, the white ones, and then like you often have like these really quick like Dominican players or whatever, and they get caught in a pickle, so they're trying to like run back and forth between the bases, and so you have these like white cop looking guys chasing after the Dominican guys. That's fun.
Yeah. And I think NCAA though, I think that's considered a little bit different. Like college basketball, I think kind of gets through the middle there. Like it's not. I think it gets a better thing because it's like colleges, so there's more. I think there's more white players at some of them, the schools.
Maybe,
so I think you get a little bit more of that. Yeah.
I still think the fast twitch muscle thing has some.
Sure.
Maybe, it's sort of.
You never know.
It's sort of like trans athletes, how it's like they have an unfair advantage. I feel like it's sort of the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So let's wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, guys. If you like this episode of You Can't Win and you'd like a second one every week, you can subscribe to our Patreon for $5 and you'll get that as well as access to our Discord. If you want to send in anonymous questions, you can go to our Twitter account at YouCanWinPod, and you'll find a Curious Cat link there where you can do so. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you again next week.
Thanks.